the second annual Great Salt Lake Summit. Since we last met just over 9 months ago, much progress has been made toward protecting and preserving the Great Salt Lake. It's taken efforts from state, local, and federal levels, as well as from our partners in the private sector, but especially from individual Utahns across the state. Let's take a quick look at what's happened since we last got together.
I'm really excited about what we've done with Great Salt Lake. If you look around the world, a lot of these terminal lakes like this one have been lost. And Utah has this unique opportunity to act decisively and protect this really important resource. And we've done amazing work. 6 important pieces of legislation passed just the last session. We invested $50 million in Great Salt Lake and another $400 million in water conservation.
I feel that the efforts to fast-track conservation efforts have greatly increased over the past year or two, both because people are more aware and because it's more urgent today. The efforts that are made in House Bill 33 allow us as farmers the assurance that we can manage our water, we can conserve water, and we don't lose our opportunity for future use of that water. We can maintain beneficial use and still provide conservation, and especially conservation efforts downstream.
So I can speak on behalf of Layton City. We've done several different things. We've changed our landscaping ordinance. We've added an app for our citizens to be able to see how much water consumption they've been using. We've got a GSI system to help our citizens understand their own vegetation and the different soils that they're trying to water and keep hydrated, as well as we've been working with Rocky Mountain Power on the pumps that we use within our aquifer and being able to get the water up so we can get it to our citizens. But the biggest thing that I am most proud about is our citizens. We've been able to inform them and educate them on all the different opportunities that we need them to do to step up to help conserve water. I'm happy to say to date, we have over 930 million gallons we've saved.
Preserving the Great Salt Lake, it's been one of my top priorities since my first day in office. And the reason it's been such a top priority is because of the focus that you all have put on it. Speaker Wilson, Governor Cox, many members of the state legislature, Hawks, Ferry, all of you have made this such a big priority. It's easy for our team to put a lot of focus on this. And we've worked diligently and collaboratively with Utah's local officials, other elected leaders to introduce Saline Lake Ecosystems in the Great Basin States Program Act. It's a critically important bill that will establish a scientific monitoring and assessment program, bringing together stakeholders to set a path forward that works for our community's needs as we seek to save the Great Salt Lake.
To complement and elevate the work already being done at the state and local levels and to save this critical resource, I partnered up with a few of my colleagues, Congressman Chris Stewart, John Curtis, and Burgess Owens, in introducing the Great Salt Lake Recovery Act. Our legislation provides funding for and authorization for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to carry out a program to monitor and assess the water availability and conditions of the saline lakes in the Great Basin, including the Great Salt Lake. It also authorizes a feasibility study on addressing drought conditions in the Great Salt Lake, which may include an identification of any potential technologies capable of redirecting water sources and necessary permitting across state borders.
2 years ago, the state offered a water optimization program which required some new technology to be developed and deployed on the farm. And that was the initial stages of the automation that we have now for surge flood irrigation. Historically, if I look at how we irrigated this field, we could only cover half the field in 1 week. So we've developed the software to be able to build schedules. Now, under a surge irrigation method, we can cover the entire field in 1 week. If you automated the entire Bear River Canal system and you automated all the fields, it's possible to save in the neighborhood of 100,000 acre-feet per year. That's a big number, and when you take that amount of water and put it into the Great Salt Lake system, now you have a significant amount of water that stabilizes the Great Salt Lake without further decline.
The water optimization program has been a great opportunity to be able to make a lot of improvements over a lot of acres. We've been able to implement things that we only dreamed of before. These projects aren't only going to benefit those farmers and ranchers. They are going to benefit all of Utah, and that kind of is exciting to me to know that what I'm doing can make an impact.
HB 242 that was passed last year was a great boost to the entire secondary metering project statewide. It allowed for $250 million of funding to go towards secondary metering, which was a lot of small irrigation companies just really couldn't afford to take that step. We've seen a lot of support from a lot of the customers and customer agencies in providing those secondary meters. So it benefits really conservation as a whole, and it allows people to understand how they actually use water and to be accountable for the water that they do use.
These are huge steps, generational type steps. But everybody knows that that's just the beginning, and we need to do more and more because it's just going to take a real big effort from a lot of people working together. It's hard to think of any long-term solution for Great Salt Lake that doesn't involve water banking. Water banking is an innovation that really allows us to share this precious resource of water. When you think about how a bank works, if you have money that you can get by without, you can put it into the bank, you get paid for it, and somebody else uses it. It's really the same idea when it comes to water. So if somebody can get by without a water right, or they can get by with less water, they can put it into the bank, and then other people can come and lease that water back out of the bank. So it's a great way to take this scarce resource that we have and to spread it out so that more people can use it. I think in the last few years, the real advances have been just testing this proof of concept. So we've put it under the ground. We're actually deploying water banks in different parts of the state. And so we're learning what works and what doesn't work and how we can make the system work even better.
If we make the investment in becoming efficient now, it continues to pay dividends long after we're gone.
It's important to us that we leave what we use and what we live off of better than we found it before. Participating in conservation efforts allows us to know that the better the efforts we provide now, the better benefit it is to our kids.
It's been remarkable to me to see the combination and the power that comes from having the private sector and government working together to solve a complex issue. Everywhere I go, people want to talk about saving the Great Salt Lake and what they can do individually as well as collectively to make a difference in it. We all understand we're linked together on this, and everyone wants to work on it.
What excites me the most is knowing that we now have the entire state working on a solution. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take all of us working together. We need to kind of be creative in our thought process, in our daily actions, and also look at other cities outside of the state and outside of the country on how they've solved the problem we're facing here in the state of Utah with our lake level.
I love the state of Utah. I grew up here. I want my kids to be here and to have the quality of life that we want to have, that I want my kids to have and grandkids to have here in the state of Utah. You know, we need to have that lake. It helps sustain us. And so we need to do our part to protect it.
As you can see, much progress has been made. However, there is still more work to do. Saving the Great Salt Lake will be a marathon, not a sprint. We need everyone to do their part, take the long view, and come to the table with workable and creative solutions to solve this complex and important issue. This will perhaps be the most important cause I will work on during my time in public service. And I remain hopeful and optimistic that together we can ensure the Great Salt Lake is around for generations to come.